Hi there, my name is Peter Petros. I'm CEO of PEDCO, and today we'll explore about something many organizations get wrong. Compliance. Yes, compliance, not as a brake, but as an accelerator and, if done right, as a strategic advantage, especially now with AI. I'm joined today by Felix Rüssel, partner at Kegon, security officer at Kegon, Germany, SAFE expert, SAFE summit speaker, and member of the PEDCO Advisory Board. Thanks for that. Felix, you said at the SAFE Summit, compliance is changing from death by checklists to strategic asset under AI pressure and growing personal liability. So after you introduced yourself, why the special attention for AI for compliance in Europe and why now?
So, Peter, it's a pleasure to be with you today here. And as you know, I've got a degree in computer science with a major in AI, but I clearly state I'm not an AI expert. So my focus is on the overlapping areas of compliance work and AI, because I see a lot of potential here. There are so much regulations in place for digital services and products, which we also need to comply to when talking or implementing AI solutions. On the other hand, AI is here to help us when doing our compliance work. So we have a very strict context in the European Union and in Germany, where it's clear if you break the law or you do the things in a wrong way, quickly you become or there's personal liability you are facing. Yeah, and this is a topic which is very interesting to me, because of course I want to avoid such a situation.
Yeah, thank you. And you warn also against death by checklists and isolated IMS. What replaces that mindset?
Mm-hmm. So if you just look at the number of regulations being in place in Europe, just last year there was this Draghi report, and he came up with some numbers about legal acts being published in the last 5 years in Europe, and he's stating, okay, it was 13,000 legal acts, which if you do some math, yeah, it boils down to every 3 to 4 hours there's something happening. A new regulation is created, new standards are popping up, and so on. So not everything is directly impacting your organization or your personal life, but there's a high dynamic. And typically organizations are looking at the regulations, looking at which standards, which norms they need to implement, and the end result often in such an implementation phase is creating new checklist. And a single checklist is not a problem, but saying, okay, there are 5, 6, 10 new regulations to follow in every year, you will end up with 20 or 50 new checklists, and no organization is able to cope with that on the long run, because then you will just fill out one checklist after each checklist. So therefore, the idea is to include whatever is necessary in the standard procedures. So it should become your normal work. Think about security, think about functional safety, think about your financing numbers and so on, and not just put it in a new checklist.
Okay. Yeah, so this is really in the total value chain. So how does compliance create value? I mean, in a lot of time, people are just thinking about fines or getting on court. So how is compliance creating value beyond avoiding such fines?
Yeah, but this is a very important part of it, of course. So we have the rule of law. We need to stick to the law. If we break the law, there's the fine. Very simplified, yeah? And if you are able to avoid such situations and your competition is not, you have a strategic advantage. But we need to look beyond that. That's true, Peter. We really need to understand the basic idea behind the regulation often is a very good idea, like increased safety, increased security, leveling the playing field, and so on. And that are values which are honored by our society. So who doesn't want to live in a safe and secure world? So when our organizations are able to cope with these requirements, coming from the regulations, in the end, it should result in higher quality, more valuable solutions, more reliable solutions, and this actually creating value, right?
Absolutely, yeah. This is really good. And I remember you said once that using yesterday's methods can create personal liability, exposure, and even issues with the D&O insurance. So how should leaders recognize when a practice is below the generally accepted rules of technology and upgrade responsibly? How can they do that?
So there's this legal concept of saying something is new under research, and then there is the state of the art, the accepted way how to do it, and then there is the threshold, and below that, that's the outdated stuff. Yeah, and of course that's a dynamic situation. What has been acceptable, like state of the art last year, might not be acceptable this year or in the future. Therefore, the first thing is to educate yourself. What's happening around you? What's coming to us? Especially in the area of artificial intelligence. So I have discussions about whether is it still under research or is it state of the art, or are some aspects of AI already outdated. Just think about prompt engineering. So many things have changed in this area. So what to do and what to avoid. So you need to develop a better understanding what's an acceptable approach by looking at, for example, at the competition, but maybe also looking into court rulings, because they give also hints here, like running a huge enterprise using Excel tables, outdated, right? Or like in the case of the diesel problems with an VW Volkswagen, clearly showed, okay, as a CEO, you need to know what's happening in your organization. And then if you say, oh, I didn't know because it's too much information, maybe you should look into AI, right? Which helps to cope with this huge amount of information. Actually, this was a point in a court ruling saying, oh, you were not able to create an organization which is able to cope with this massive amount of information. And therefore, it's dynamic. You need to look out. You need to challenge the status quo and push forward. So actually coming from SAFE, we have this concept of relentless improvement.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's not enough to improve a little bit, but to really push the limits. And this is something I really miss in a lot of organizations.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you balance, you talked about state of the art, how do you balance state of the art with pragmatism so teams aren't overwhelmed? How can you deal with that? Yeah,
it's always a topic for prioritization. I tell my clients, you shouldn't complain that you have too much topics on your wish list, too much things you need to do. That's the normal situation. That's a good situation. You should be alarmed when you run out of things you need to do, because that's a symptom that your organization is going to die. Yeah. And therefore, we need to figure out how to prioritize it. And also, again, coming from SAFE, with WSJF, there's a good approach talking about what's the business value, but also talking about what's the opportunity and the risk perspective, looking at a specific initiative. And we need to do it on the portfolio level. We need to do it on the product level, and we need to do it for every single team. And again, so my take on it is, companies which are not agile and do not have a huge, great collaborative nature or culture, and where the processes have not been digitalized, they will have a lot of trouble in the future. Yeah, they need a lot of luck to survive, because they are not able to apply AI in the right way in such a context.
Yeah. You also emphasized the business judgment rule, both being prudent and fast. What does prudent and fast look like for an agile executive approving an AI pilot, for example?
Yeah, so looking from a legal perspective, I run into three nice legal concepts. So first one is a rule of law. So what's in the law we need to follow, right? No arguments. Maybe we are not as quick as we should have been, but we need to do our very best to follow the law, right? The second thing is somebody needs to be responsible. In Germany, we have the concept of ordentlicher Kaufmann, or prudent business person in English. And then there is the huge area where you need to make business decisions. Do we lean to the left? Do we lean to the right? Forward, backward, whatsoever? And for making these decisions, you need to educate yourself, because even if the decision proves to be wrong, the business judgment rule, then third legal concept, says, okay, you did your very best to educate yourself to create a good decision, and this prevents legal personal liability. If you don't do this, yeah, you take a very high risk, personal risk.
I understand that. Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to talk to you about, as you're in your role as a security officer, what new failure modes do you see when generative AI enters the software and compliance tool chains? Where are teams underestimating risks?
Yeah, so I just read the 7 AI native success factors from Scaled Agile, or AI native, and they are at its core, they are about, let's see, business value learning and improving, using AI everywhere, and early usage of AI, and giving access to data. And then on the very last bullet point, there is govern wisely. And in a legal context, like in the European Union or in Germany, this last bullet point is a very important bullet point. Yes. Because if you tinker around and you did not check for security concerns, safety concerns, or you did provide like data which you shouldn't have been providing to the AI, there's a huge risk that you are running into trouble. So once again, have people in your organization who look into these compliance topics, who understand them, who understand the ideas behind the specific phrase written in a standard or coming from a regulation. So what's the basic idea? And with this better understanding, talk with the product development people to make so to move fast and reliable and stay safe. Yeah, and that's the huge challenge in today's situation, because there is so much dynamics. There's dynamics coming from technology, from market like competition, but also from regulation. I mentioned these 3 to 4 hours. Every 3 to 4 hours, there's a new regulation popping up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see, if I understood you right, it's important that we have the standards and that we interpret it for our own context, that we really say, hey, this is what is happening at us, this is our risk, and this is how we address it. It's not just following standards for the sake of the standard. Okay, so you propose also a new acronym. I like that very much, the C4AI4C, the compliance for AI and AI for compliance. How does that work?
So I'm coming from a technical domain like computer science, yeah, and later joined the agile movement and agile and lean and all these things. And just recently, like the last 2 years, I'm digging deeper in the compliance and risk management domain. And what I see is, okay, from my perspective, AI is a high value, but also a high risk technology, because things are happening without you controlling all the details. Yeah, that's the essence of AI, and therefore we need to understand what approaches, what measures do we need to take to make it as reliable and safe as possible, and that's the compliance part. Yeah, so understand which regulations are relevant in for developing and using AI solutions. So therefore, C4AI means compliance for artificial intelligence. So educate yourself in this area, understand what's important, what's the minimal things you need to do, and especially for Europe, what's coming the next years, and so many additional regulations becoming active in the next years. So that's the first one. And then we have this high dynamics in the compliance world. We need to shorten the cycles. We need to implement PDCA cycles. This is not possible using fully manual approaches. Therefore, we need to automate. And AI is a very, very powerful approach or tool in this context. So AI for compliance means, okay, we use AI to speed up our compliance work, to increase the productivity, to create a situation where we can say, oh, we have lean agile compliance at place because we have it integrated in our deployment pipeline, for example. And for me, it really fits together. First, you need to understand compliance, which is relevant for AI, then implement the AI, and then use the AI in your compliance work.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. That's exactly why we built our product, PEDCO Audit Pro. And this is really the tool where we can stay with AI, that you can augment audits and generate and verify defenses and improve the quality and efficiency of compliance management in a continuous manner. That's exactly what we are doing with Audit Pro. You talked also about SAFE, and if you're in a role, and if I'm a project portfolio leader, what are my first 3 moves this quarter?
So my take on it is educate yourself, because most organizations, most people are not aware of all the regulations which will impact their work, their products. Just last week at the 7th Regulierungskonferenz in Frankfurt, where like compliance and regulation experts came together, I became aware of the blue wall for regulations and acts relevant to digital products and services. So I were aware of some of these, but not of the whole wall. Yeah, or some people said that's the new tsunami, and after that we do not have any companies left in Europe. But that's stuff. Most of it is already passed through the parliament, so they will become active. Yeah, so educate yourself what's happening around you, because if you don't do, we will see your organization will have a huge time pressure to implement it. Then take a risk-based approach. What is most risky for your organization and your business, and then move fast. And this brings me again to organizations which do not yet have implemented lean and agile concepts. They will really struggle to move fast, to adapt to the situation. And therefore, so first educate, get an overview, make a risk-based assessment, and then move fast. Yeah.
Very good. I like that very much. I think we are coming to a closing now. And can you say one sign that your compliance program is stuck in checklist mode?
You just look at the time you need for an audit. Like, go to your internal auditors, talk to them, and they will provide you with the numbers. They say, oh, we have this portfolio process, and we will need a few weeks to really audit what's going on. Yeah, and that's a strong indication that maybe there's room for improvement. Yeah, for increasing productivity. And then maybe come to you, Peter, to PEDCO, and let's have a look at Audit Pro. Maybe Audit Pro is solving some of the challenges. Will not solve all of the challenges for sure. Yeah. But this manual work, looking at process documentation, matching it against standards, it will be much easier if you have a tool like Audit Pro in place.
Yeah, absolutely. It's much a burden to go through existing QMS, maybe 100,000 steps in the processes to understand it and interpret it to the new standards and what could be improved, which is solved with AI as well. Yeah. I think that's a very good stop here. Felix, thank you very much. My takeaways are: treat compliance as a value engine, not as a brake. Operationalize MVC and make AI guardrails a leadership habit so that speed and reliability reinforce each other. Is that more or less correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Peter, was a pleasure having with you. And my summary is clock's ticking. So you really need to look into these topics, yeah, because nobody is waiting for you. Yeah, you will fall behind if you don't do. The regulations will hit you hard if you are not prepared. And I see it with my clients. Oh, surprise, cybersecurity stuff is relevant and so on. And they are in a situation that they say, oh, the old products we cannot enable. Yeah. So we need to focus on the new products, but the clients are not moving to the new products. So there's a huge risk of losing significant parts of a client base. Yeah, so it's really high risk to ignore these topics.
At PEDCO, we pair lean agile ways of working with Audit Pro to cut evidence and lead time, reduce audit findings, and shorten time to market without lowering the bar. If you're in a regulated context and want to test this safely, contact us. Felix, thank you so much for what you said. My takeaways are: treat compliance as a value engine, make AI guardrails a leadership habit so that speed and reliability reinforce each other. Felix, I give you the last word.
Thank you, Peter. So my take on it is clock is ticking. You really need to move. You need to educate yourself in context of compliance and how it fits to artificial intelligence. And of course, you need to invest into becoming a real agile company, because only this way you can move fast. So not continuous improvement, but relentless improvement is more important than ever. So Peter, thanks for having me here. And it was a great pleasure to talk about C4AI4C with you.
Thank you much for your time, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.